Hey guys, so I wanted to let you guys know how the trip to New York went. The 14, well, 16 hour trip went from Tennessee all the way to New York with a newborn, a 2 month old, and a 1 year old. So, in the beginning, it was okay because, you know, Egypt is used to being in the car and being in his car seat. So everything was going smooth. We put it on Miss Rachel and he was entertained by that and we fed him. But the further we got into, because guys, I did not know Tennessee was that long. Literally, it took 5 or 6 hours to get out of Tennessee into Virginia. And guys, and Egypt started getting irritated while we were in Tennessee, and eventually, like, he was crying, and I gave him his pacifier, and he continued watching Miss Rachel, and eventually he went to sleep. So he took his little nap, and then after, like, I would say like 2 hours or a couple hours, I don't know exactly, right? He started crying because he realized, like, oh, I'm still in the car. So once he realized that, he started getting antsy and he started touching his little brother's car seat. And guys, he even snatched the pacifier. Cairo had a pacifier attached to him, and Egypt was not right next to him. Egypt's car seat is next to him. So Egypt snatched Cairo's pacifier. I don't know if it was from out of his mouth or if it was next to him, but he snatched it. And I looked over, and all I seen was Egypt looking at both of the pacifiers like, which one should I put in my mouth? And it was hilarious, to be honest. But he it was like Egypt was enjoying the view, and he was, 1 minute he was irritated, 1 minute he was not. But we got out of the car, we took stops, multiple stops. That's the reason why we took about 16 hours. Maybe it was more, I don't know at this point, after I started losing track of time, but I know it was a long time, you guys. But yeah, so after we took a stop at the gas station because, hubby had to get gas, we had to stretch our legs and everything. And Egypt got out the car, we changed him, let him walk around and stretch his legs. And same thing with Cairo, changed his diaper, fed him. And we have a changing mat that we got off of Amazon, and Cairo would lay on it and stretch his legs and stretch his legs and get his stretch on and feeding and everything. So that was cool. That kept Egypt sustained for a couple of more hours that we had to be on the road. What else? Cairo was, a little bit irritated because, being in a car seat for a while too can be a little bit irritating, especially when you want to stretch and everything. But he did well, you guys. He actually did well for a 2 month old. He slept, at that time they sleep a lot. So I was so grateful. Technically I was dealing with both babies, but you know Cairo kind of gave me a little break, so I was able to tend to Egypt to make sure that he's okay. Because after a while, Miss Rachel kind of got annoying to him because he still cried even when Miss Rachel was on. But yeah, so the closer and closer we got to our destination, the more excited I got because I was tired, I was hungry, and I know my husband was tired because my husband was the one doing the whole entire driving the whole time. And when we took another stop in Virginia, my husband was going to try to take a nap. And while he was trying to take a nap, I took Egypt out his car seat. And when I took Egypt out his car seat to feed him, because he was crying, because Egypt cries when the car is parked too long and he's still in the same spot. So I took Egypt out of the car seat and put him next to me, like sat him on my lap, because our car is big enough. And Cairo was sleeping, and my husband decided to take a nap, and I didn't want Egypt to be crying in his ear, so I took him and I fed him. And Egypt Like I was holding him and he had his bottle, and Egypt threw up on me all over my sweater and everything, and I needed help obviously because I have to get this throw up sweater off of me and wipe Egypt down. So that nap that my husband was trying to take didn't really go so well. I mean, he ended up having to take Egypt and while I take off, clothes and everything. And then my husband tried to take a nap again, and it was just for a little bit. It wasn't for that long of a time before Egypt started getting irritated because he went back in his car seat. So yeah, that was what happened in Virginia. Um, and after that, we went back on the road and we got to Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania, it was about, let me see, I think 2 hours. 2 hours in Pennsylvania, maybe 3, because we were like in a deeper part of Pennsylvania. That was, it was kind of smooth, it wasn't too bad. And then we got to New Jersey. We took stops. We took periodic stops. I don't really remember how many stops, but we took stops periodically just to make sure that I fed Cairo because, I'm not going to feed him in a moving vehicle, guys. So you have to imagine the amount of stops that we took. That's why I said I feel like it was more than 16 hours because I was feeding Cairo every 3 hours. I was on top of that and changing his diaper. I had my alarm on whether I was taking a nap. I had my alarm on, ding, 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 up, feed, change, burp, hold them up for a little bit, back in the car seat. So I was on top of that. So yeah, maybe it was more than 16 hours, guys. I don't know, but we did it, and that's one thing about me and my husband, like, and per se for me, like, I'm a very adventurous person, and I was very nervous about doing this trip, but my husband, mind you, he's the one that's going to be driving the whole time. He made me feel like, okay, we could do this, because if he can do it and he's the one driving, I can do it too, and we did it. And it was so crazy because as tired as my husband was, guys, he drunk 2 Red Bulls and still was so exhausted. And I agreed with him. Like, I drank a Monster and I was still exhausted. It was like it wasn't even doing anything. That's how tired we was. And even though I was in the back and I could nap, I took a nap, but I didn't really like sleep. Even before we went on the road trip, I'm usually a person that I would take an hour nap and I feel like I took a nap for 8 hours. So, and that was enough to sustain me. But that is something about me. Like, I always look at things like, okay, let's just do it because it's only one life, and it's going to be done and over with. Like, at the time it was like, oh my God, but now thinking about it, like, we actually did it, and we have footage of us actually doing it, and our kids, when they get older, they can see what their parents have done, just like taking a trip. Just like when I had Egypt and he was 2 months, we went to Georgia. And it was so cold. We went to Georgia, we went to the mall, we went a whole bunch of places with the 2-month-old. And he recently was circumcised, so we brought everything that we needed for him to clean down there, and it didn't get infected or anything. I was on top of it. Guys, my mom is a nurse, so I'm on top of cleanliness and all that, not getting infected, not getting sick, and ways to, all that good stuff. But that's another story. But yes, we did that. With Egypt, we took a road trip, but that was like, the road trip was like 6 hours because from Tennessee to Atlanta is like 6 hours. So it wasn't that bad. But this one with 2 kids, 16 plus hours, that was insane. But I'm happy we did it. We would not do it again. We will take road trips, but meaning like we would not to have a newborn and a toddler and do that again. No, because it just made the trip longer. If Kyra was 1 and Egypt was 2, it would have been faster because we wouldn't have to take really much stops. But it was worth the adventure, and I'm happy that me and my husband did it with our kids. And we're just adventurous people. We're just, spontaneous people. And I just love that about us. And I hope that our kids are like that too. Like, just, oh, let's do this. Of course you have to save, right? You don't just pick up and just. But I love that he's just as spontaneous and adventurous as me. And guys, this was my family's first time in New York City. And my husband actually loved it. Love it to live? No, but love it. The vibe, the food, the culture, is great. And, it's so funny when my husband was driving in New York City, and 1 second, if you're 1 second, you don't start driving in New York City, they will honk the horn. Here, they rarely honk the horn. Like, you really have to do something insane for them to really honk the horn here in Tennessee. Which was funny. We laughed about it because it's just like, oh wow, like they honking their horn, and literally I literally didn't, like the light just turned green and they honked the horn. But that was funny. And Egypt, the loud noises while he was sleeping of the cars and the honking, he wasn't used to it, but he started getting used to it gradually, and I'm from New York. My husband is from Florida, Miami, Florida. So, I just want to incorporate both of those cultures. I'm Haitian. My husband is Egyptian and Puerto Rican. So I just want to incorporate, where I'm from and where my husband is from into them, which is, I feel like that's cool. And I feel like that's amazing. But yeah, it was amazing. We had a great time. And yeah, we still have to unpack. We're almost done, but we still have to unpack some stuff. I brought more things than we actually needed, but that's just me. That's just how my mom raised us and what I see my mom do. So better to be overpacked than underpacked, right? Especially with a newborn. You have to change their clothes so many times. So we never had any problems with that. And bottles and everything. The bottles, I brought so many bottles that it was able to sustain the whole time until we got there. And guys, I was going to the gas station to heat up bottles for Cairo because Cairo got used to like warm milk to the point where if the milk is like not warm enough, he's not gonna drink it, or he's gonna play around with it in his mouth. So my husband, God bless my husband, was driving and looking for gas stations, and we were heating up his milk, and it was an adventure that I'm grateful for. But yeah, not again. But it was amazing. And yeah, that was our trip to New York. That was a synopsis of majority what happened. I probably forgot what a couple of things that happened because I was so tired and so restless, and I was just literally like just walking like with my eyes open, like, but I was literally exhausted and probably sleeping, right? But this is what I remember from the trip and from the road, like from being on the road to actually getting to our destination and the stops that we made. So we went Tennessee, Virginia, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Manhattan, and then Brooklyn. Yeah, so that was that. Yeah, your girl did it. My husband did it. We did it. Yeah. And thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you guys so much for supporting, for sharing, yeah, for motivating me. And I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in another video. Hey.